Welcome to our 22nd episode of Black Dance Stories. Here's a note about why we are here. Our dance world was pummeled by COVID 19, and Black dance artists are finding ways to talk about life during this time. Our world was further turned upside down after horrible events ensued nationally and globally, bringing attention yet again to the need for the Black Lives Matter movement. Black dance artists have not been quiet since. Black dance artists have been doing the work. Black dance artists continue to make work. To stay involved, we hold these weekly impromptu discussions and tell stories, Black dance stories. This is one action, and we promise to stay involved. We are a community working together to support, uphold, highlight, and celebrate Black creatives. Tonight is our 22nd episode of what we hope will be many stories told in the artist's own voices. Thank you so much for making time to witness. Please, please help to spread the word about our special time together. Tonight is Abdell R. Salam and Marlies Yearby's turn. And just so you know, y'all, it's a big secret. Don't tell him we told you, but yesterday was Abdel's big birthday. Ask him how old he is later on. Please meet our BDS team. Well, part of our BDS team, and I will go first. I am Charmaine Warren. I am a Jamaican. I am the great granddaughter of Ida Boyd, granddaughter of Solomon Golson and Ruby Chapman, and I am one of 9 children by Theophilus Warren and my 94-year-old mother, Perline Warren, who lives in Jamaica. I am a non-disabled Black woman. With the utmost respect to the Native people, I acknowledge that I live on the stolen land of the indigenous Lenape people, now known as Montclair, New Jersey, with my husband, photographer and graphic artist Tony Turner. Our daughter, Ashay Turner, a ballerina with locks, is in her junior year at Boston Conservatory. I have locks that fall to my shoulders. I'm wearing a pink and white striped blouse and beige hanging earrings. Behind me are photos of our family, a large plant, a lamp, and African masks. Welcome back to our happy place. We missed you all last week. Happy Black Dance Stories Thursday to our old and new friends. We can't wait to see you all in the chat. Another special welcome and thanks to the artists, friends, community activators on the screen and those watching who make this happen every week. I turn it over to Kimani.
Thank you, Charmaine. And because I love the words of Disabella Grimes' mama, delicious, delightful dancing night always is what I feel we do here at Black Dance Stories. The importance of acknowledging our familial and dance legacies is an essential tradition. With deep respect and honor, I want to acknowledge the Lenape people whose stolen land I am zooming from, currently known as the village of Harlem. I am a Black, non-disabled woman, and I live with my 9-year-old son. I am sitting in my dining room next to my kitchen, so you might hear some cooking going on. And I have a golden low-cut hairstyle. I'm wearing a big puffy blue and white sweater with large silver hoop earrings. I am the granddaughter of Lucille Madison, English professor. I teach because of her. Daughter of Ronald Augustus Fowlin, Jamaican warrior and gourmet chef, and Anne Fowlin, rebel and Renaissance woman. I dance because of them. My son Tamayo keeps me present and am awe of him always, this young blossoming visual artist. And with that, I turn it over to Nick.
Thank you, Kimani. Hi, everyone. I'm Nicholas Xavier Hall. I'm Haitian American. I am a non-disabled Black man. My pronouns are he, him, his. I am the grandson of Gertha Farr and Jean-Claude Hall, Jacques Arnold Nicholas, and Marie Violette Alexandre. I was born in Brooklyn to Sheila and Curdance Hall. My family, including my sisters Isabella and Victoria, now live in Montclair, which is on the stolen land of the indigenous Lenape people. I am also a recent graduate of the Fordham Ailey BFA program. I dance because it reminds me to keep dreaming. I'm in a white room wearing a green patent button down and a pearl necklace. Behind me is a mirror, a TV, and a painting. With that, I'm going to pass things back to Kimani.
Thank you, Nick. So it takes a village, and our village exists a family behind the scenes as well. So Cynthia Tate is our awesome publicist. Gabe Decoladenu, web designer, amazing B, eyes open for what's about to come soon. Caitlin Chandler, video tech expert. Woohoo! Renee Redding Jones, director of development. Tony Turner, graphic designer, and our ASL team, Sadie, Kira, and Kenya. So please consider donating. We want to keep this going for as long as we are here. And we can't do that without your donations. So please, again, this is like going to the movies pre-COVID, going to see a show pre-COVID. We're here now and we could use your donations. Thank you for considering. And I turn it back to you, Nick.
Thank you. So a big part of Black Dance Stories is the community that we build. So we want to know who's watching with us tonight. So please drop your name in the chat, say hello to your neighbor, say hello to us, say whatever you'd like, honestly, just say something. While you're there, also please follow us on Instagram at Black Dance Stories, follow us on Twitter at BLK Dance Stories, and also most importantly, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a big goal of making it to 1,000 subscribers. Like and comment on this video as well. With that, if you'd like to, please grab a glass of water, a cocktail, glass of wine, whatever makes you happy, but I think it's time to cheers to Black Dance Stories.
Yay, cheers.
And with that, again, I want us to always keep vigilant. Our BDS team will continue to stand with our sisters and brothers in Africa, all over the world, in solidarity with all those who want an immediate end to systemic racism. So please do your part. And with that, I turn it over to you, Nick.
Thank you. Black Dance Stories also wants to acknowledge the growing severity of the coronavirus pandemic. We want to ask all of our viewers and to ask their loved ones as well to wear a mask and to stay safe during these trying times, but just do what you can, wear a mask, limit your time outdoors, just do what you can to stay safe. I'm going to pass things over to Charmaine now.
Yay, yay us.
Yay.
Look at us. I love us.
I love us too.
And yay, everybody out there. We love you too. Thanks for being here again. Yeah, hugs.
Hugs, right? That's for everything.
Nick and Kimani are going to go for a while because we know you're here to see some other folks besides us. We love you. We love you. We know you love us, but you're here to see some other folks. See you in a little bit, Nick and Kimani. Come on in, Abdel. Salam. Come on in, brother. Say hello to the people.
And I shut my video on. Ta-da.
You're not supposed to do that. Cheers, brother.
Okay, I want to tell everybody that this is cucumber mint and lemonade.
Who made it?
That I don't know, the store.
Cheers. Welcome.
Cheers, darling.
So introduce yourself and the floor is yours, Brother Baba.
Well, thank you so much, Charmaine. I love you. I love you. I love you. And it's been a real pleasure working with you as my producer at Dance Africa for the last 2 years. Many more to come. All right, family, peace and blessings. I'm going to follow this script because Sister Charmaine and her team have been bouncing that script off of each other for like the last 2 months. I want to make a mistake, make sure that I don't make a mistake. So I'm going to read and follow my script exactly as I have been instructed to do. I am Brother Abdel Salam. I was born in Harlem in Sydenham Hospital on December 2nd, 1950. I live on the stolen island of Manhattan, of the original ancestral home of the late Lenape people. I am the son of Milton Pryor Bowser III and Billy Dove Williams, AKA Bowser, the grandson of Milton Pryor Bowser II and Alice Washington on my father's side, and Margaret Poole and Willie Williams on my mother's side. I am blessed with one daughter, Kisek Nekek Naut Salam / Adams, and my son-in-law, Deshaun Adams. And I have two beautiful grandchildren, Jasmine Adams and Kada Adams. It's important to note that Jasmine is a Sagittarius, as I am, and Kayla is a Scorpio, as my wife is. I'm blessed to be here tonight, but most importantly, I could not even begin this without saying that I've been blessed to be married for 37 years to one of the most amazing dancers in the world, my wife in my heart, Sister Diane Harvey Salam. And our wedding anniversary is this coming January 2nd. I want to emphasize that I started off by saying that I was a Harlemite. And this means a lot to me because when I think of my current home on the island of Manhattan, and I need to say that my Native American brothers and sisters were the ones that told me not to say Manhattan, or like I hear the brothers and sisters say in Brooklyn, Manhattan, and we leave out the T. Because if we kill the T, we kill the original vibration of what they call the language, or what they call the island, which was Manhattan. So that T is very, very important, right? And it has a ring to it. It has the rhythm of the people. But on the Isle of Manhattan, a sacred and secular home, one of the most brilliant places to be on in the planet Earth, is the village of Harlem. And I would be remiss to say that if it were not for Harlem and the spirit of the people and the culture and all of the experiences that I've had here in this amazing, amazing space, whoever I am and whatever that is, it would not be. So I want to start out by sharing with you a poem that I wrote in 2004. Barbara Horowitz, who was working with Community Works, was celebrating Ruth Williams and Dele Husbands, two master teachers, and Dele is my CEO, the CEO of Forces of Nature Dance Theater. And she wanted me to write something and dedicate it to the two of them, but at the same time, talk about Harlem, to talk about my birthplace, to talk about the place that has given birth to so much amazing dance and music and the culture of our people, Black people throughout the world. So I'm gonna put my glasses on and I'm gonna turn my head and I'm gonna read my poem to you because it means a lot to me. Harlem is a dance divine. Harlem is the body motion sublime. Harlem is the best, the worst, the light and the darkness of moving souls whose diverse destinies dance to the drums, of dreams often deferred but never destroyed, as they dip, dart, and dive into the endeavors of the divine. Harlem is a dance divine, the cultural symbol of wisdom through signs. Harlem is dance to the infinite power times one. Harlem is the movement of God in an elliptical lean, 9 degrees to the right of being while dancing 7 degrees toward the left of center of creation. Harlem is a dance divine. It is syncopated motion in time. Harlem is the crown of Black energy through rhythmic feet, a 20th century cool footprint that became the hot step of a world culture, giving birth to the planet funk, always hip as it hops to the beat, to the light. Harlem is a dance divine. Harlem is fruit dropping and dripping off the vine. Harlem is the sugar honey iced tea, the essence of people whose creative movement is so powerful that even their waste continues to fertilize not only a hungry society, but also a starving planet as she seeks to enrich her global culture through the sacred and secular dances of the rhythms of life of the Black people, of Black. Harlem is a dance divine, an urban cultural mastermind. Harlem is the urban realization of rural dreams that dance their way into eternity. Harlem is the urban plantation of the 20th century, whose crop of creativity fed an entire nation and then the world. Harlem is the urban dance of Black America with an African soul and a hip hop beat to the fulfillment of an urban prophecy of the global awakening of a never-ending dance with new beats. Harlem was and is an urban prayer for the American culture as it hopes of what it could be. Harlem is hope in motion, people moving in praise of Almighty God in his and her infinite forms, who sick these anthems and they were dancing in the streets, became a vision realized in the next millennium as an entire planet breaks, pops, locks to the backbeat, to the black beat, to the beat. I wanted to start out by saying that because I am just, I am so in love with Harlem. I am so in love with this place that has enriched my soul and empowered me and empowered so many people. And as I watched it for the duration of my life, I saw it at the tail end of its greatness as a young child. And then I watched it descend into the darkness and fight many, many battles, as we say in the Kemetic tradition, with Sutesh, or Sut, or Set. And then watch Harlem, watch her, watch him struggle with the dark side, with the challenging side, with the evolving side of itself, and eventually conquer its own demons and begin to come forth as the light of day. I love you, Mama Harlem. I love you, Papa Harlem. You have no idea how much I love you. Because without you, many of us would simply not be. I want to just say this to my folks in Brooklyn. Brooklyn is always talking about how Brooklyn is the, sugar, honey, iced tea, that Brooklyn is the shit. And yes, Brooklyn may be the shit right now, but remember that you got a lot of that when, as a certain point, Harlem began to take a twist and a turn, and a lot of people moved to Brooklyn. So, you are the shit, Brooklyn, but you are also the children of Harlem. You are the children of the rhythm of the cultural capital of the world. So I couldn't even go forward without paying homage to the place that gave birth to me. And my Black dance stories, maybe I have too many of them. I remember that Charmaine asked me to share my age. So I just want to say that yesterday, maybe a mini story is that, I had a surprise birthday party and I came home and my wife, Diane, had planned a online Zoom party with an attendance of about 150 people. And I was just absolutely floored. I did not know that all of these people from my past and present were going to come out and pay their respects. I was roasted by my godchildren. I was roasted by my friends. I was roasted by people, some people that I didn't even know, just decided that they wanted to roast me. But in the balance of paying homage to my life and also talking a lot of yang about me, what I found probably most pleasurable was that it was an affirmation of something that I think all of us strive to be and strive to do. We are always, all the time, seeking balance, right? Balance between the forces of light and the forces of darkness, not only externally, but inside our own being. And I remember my father saying to me, yo, son, as you come up in life, one of the things you're going to have to do is balance the energy between your street side and the side that I'm trying to help you develop, which is your intellectual side. You have to be able to communicate, with the brothers and sisters on the street, with academia, and find that medium, that bridge, if you will, that allows you, to talk shit, that if you need to use the language of your hood and at the same time use the language of the establishment. So I want to share with you that one of the things that came up in the roast last night, and I probably don't pay a lot of attention to this because it's just the way I communicate, was everybody came on and they talked about, my utilization, of profanity, that I curse a lot. And I don't think that I curse a lot. I think that I talk and communicate with people the way it is that I do. So, remember Bernie Mac and, the Kings of Harlem, remember Bernie had that whole joke and he talked about the mastery of the word, motherfucker. And he was poetic with it. And he used it and he said, I'm gonna show you how to use this word. And he used it about 65 times within his discourse. Now he's a comedian, right? And so everybody was laughing at it. But why do you have to be a comedian in order to use the word motherfucker? I mean, it's like that word has an amazing rhythm and amazing context. Charmaine is raising her hand at me, but it's like she told me to be myself. So I'm gonna not use the word too much, but I just want you to know that every now and then, if sugar honey iced tea, falls out of my mouth, and if you see me flip from my professorial side, from my academic side, from the side of me that is spiritual, and every now and then I go into that, or I happen to slip and become the hood side of myself, just roll with me and understand that this is a brother who has worked his entire life to balance his being, to balance intelligence and intellect with the ability to fight the struggles of the street. And I'm not a brother, who is of the street, but I was exposed to the street. As I move through Harlem, it's also important for me to say that the reason I am who I am is because of my grandfather and my mother and my father and my family. My grandfather was Milton Pryor Bowser II, but also known as Buddy Bowser. He was a comedian, right? And he used to work on the Apollo stage, and he toured with Ella and Duke, and Honey Coles, who was a tap dancer, and he and my father would drag me to the Apollo, and at the age of 5, I used to sit on the corner backstage or sit on over in the corner left-hand side and watch all of the greats perform. And then they would shift me over to the Hotel Teresa, which was a major spot where a lot of people came to Harlem in order to perform. And so my passion for the arts, my passion for stage and theater was something that I inherited honestly, because I saw it every single day of my life. My father used to work for Sugar Ray Robinson, so I was up at the boxing camp. Now, you wanna see something profane in life? Watch a group of black men get in a ring and beat the hell out of each other and turn it into an art form. Yeah? So this was something that became normal for me, right? To watch on one hand the beauty of who we are, the culture of who we are as a people. This exaltation, if you will, of this black spirit and this black will to succeed and overcome whatever our challenges were. But at the same time, to be a people who, when it was time to get down and get dirty and get grungy, we knew how to do that. We were able again to balance the light and the darkness, the good and the bad of who we were. So Harlem gave that to me, right? And my mother modeled hats and gloves. Sugar Ray Robinson's, who was a boxing camp that I came up and around, his wife, Edna Mae Robinson, was a cotton club dancer. My grandmother by marriage was one of the first black models, that was hired by a major modeling agency in the 50s. So what I saw was cars and clothes and glitter and fashion and dance and movement in the arts. And I just don't think I could have done it in, any other way. My father's best friend had a magazine called Elegant Teen, and my father left and moved out to California, and he was trying to raise me in the arts. And so, I would sit down, and every day while the young kids today listen to hip hop, I was listening to a recording of West Side Story or Kinda Blue with John Coltrane and Miles Davis playing, and Cannonball Adderley, or the George Shearing Quintet or West Side Story, and just listening to plays and jazz and theater, and not really understanding that this was going to have an indelible impression, right, on my life and determine what it was that I wanted to do and wanted to be. But my early years in life were as a musician and as a visual artist. Um, my father did take me around a number of times. I used to tour with him when he came home from the summer, and we went out on the Chitlin circuit. For those people who don't know what the Chitlin circuit was, the Chitlin circuit was not the big time, right? Because my grandfather was working with the big time. You know, he was out with Duke and Ella. But my father, you know, who was his wannabe, his father, didn't quite make it at that time, but he was able to go out and work with not Nat King Cole, but Freddie Cole, Nat King Cole's brother, right? And he would write songs for Freddie Cole. He did one called let me see, it's Christmas time. Christmas bells are ringing and the world is all aglow. You'll hear voices singing as you're riding through the snow. It's Christmas time. Boom, 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 wah. It's Christmas time. Noel. So I came up listening to my pop, you know, singing songs that he would make up for me. He was rhyming, you know, when Easter comes out on the aisle, I know that I'll soon be wearing a smile for the lucky little fella in the clean white suit and the two long ears and the tail so cute. That's Sonny, the Easter Bunny. Now, Sonny was his nickname, right? So anything that my father was exposed to, because of who he came from, he was trying to turn it into an art form. He was trying to dance it. He was trying to sing it. He was trying to write a song by it. So I got that honestly. And footnote, rewind. For those of you who don't know, a lot of us who came up in Harlem, we came up, through the civil rights movement. I was one of those kids that I went to school in Harlem, you know, on 122nd Street. I'm sorry, 120th Street and Madison Avenue, PS 103. And across the street was one of the worst junior high schools, you know, that was in New York City, James Fenimore Cooper. Now it's a church called the AME Bethel Church. But Brown versus Board of Education came up. And then, so they were snatching two kids, you know, out of school. And out of schools in Harlem. So two children out of every school in Harlem eventually was sent down to 82nd Street, right? Or on the Lower East Side. So I go down with, you know, my $1 a day, you know, my $1 a day lunch money. And I arrive at the school on the bus, and the kids are pulling up in limousines. And they're getting out and the chauffeur's opening the door. And I'm saying, where in the hell am I? Yeah, I said hell, you know, when I was like 8, 9 years old. I was, you know, I started at that particular point too. And then we get out. And then when we had lunch, these were elementary school kids and they had it set up. Their parents had it set up so they didn't have to eat lunch in the cafeteria. They would walk across the street to the restaurant, and they didn't give the guy that owned the restaurant any money. They, you know, I got my little $1, and $1 back then would buy you a hamburger, French fries, and egg cream, and a donut. And then you have some change left over. They would go inside and sign a check. You know, rather, you know, because it was for the young folks out there sitting there, you don't know, there ain't no, you know, there's no credit cards. We didn't have credit cards. We have cell phones. Everything was dial up. You know what I mean? We have none of that stuff. I almost said it, Charmaine. See, it's coming back. But I got to tell you something now, because we were talking about my language skills for a second. So I got to come back for 1 second. So one day I said the word hell in class in like the 5th grade. And so the teacher said, Mrs. Schwartz said, I'm bringing your grandmother in and we're going to straighten this out right now. So she brought my grandmother in and she started going up. Did you know what, you know, do you know what your grandson did? We was having a lesson and he said so and so and so, and he said hell. And my grandmother looked at me, you know, and she took her glove off and she slapped me upside the back of my head. And she said, Nicky, what the hell is the matter with you using all that damn language and the people and talking, you know? And so then the teacher was like, but she realized I got it honestly, right? So I'm just saying to you that whatever character you see, I am not a character made of myself of my own. I am the product of my mother and my father and my grandmother and everybody else. I see Charmaine looking at that clock up there. So Charmaine, wave your hand if you tell me that, you know, I got that. How much time I got, boo-boo? I'm okay? I'm good?
You're right. So good.
I'll be good. All right. So making sure I'm all right. I'm making sure I'm right. See, now I did that and I lost my point. So anyway, that's okay. I'm gonna jump to another point because Charmaine said, don't worry about trying to be on. Let me get a little sip of my cucumber, mint, and lemonade. 1 second right here. Okay, I'm good. I'm ready to go. So coming back to Harlem, some more dance stories. So we came up in this movement, right? And we were impressed by the civil rights movement. But because we were in Harlem and we went down south, we didn't get much exposure except on black and white TV, because that's what we had at the time. Where you came up and you turned the knob, like this. And if the picture didn't come in, you put the little wire hanger and straighten out the wire hanger and stuck the wire hanger on top of the television, and you were fidgeting right with the wire to kind of get the right picture. So we didn't have computerized or sitting back and pressing a button. And so the images we got of King and Abernathy and the people that were in the civil rights movement, all of that came through on black and white TV. We were getting the street corner brothers. We were getting the brothers that would stand up on 125th Street, and they would come from Michelle's bookstore on 125th, or the great libraries of Black American history, and J.A. Rogers, and everybody's work was stored, within that bookstore, and we would just sit down as young people and watch them, and just watch them start to teach us our history and our culture by shouting it out on the street. And that was one of the first places that I had seen Malcolm. Then my father introduced me to Malcolm at the first Shabazz restaurant, 120th Street and Lenox Avenue. So we're getting all of this exposure of Black culture. And then out of the civil rights movement, yes, comes the Black Power movement. Now, what I forgot to tell you was when you heard the lineage of my family, you know me as Abdell R. Salam, right? But we were impressed by what was taking place within the nation. And one of our big heroes was Muhammad Ali. So if Muhammad Ali went out and had a fight when he just, then we were trying to fight. And I'd come up in a boxing thing any kind of way, right? So I'm trying to be like Muhammad Ali. I was never good like that, but in my fantasy, I was gonna be an Ali, right? Well, then Ali decided he wanted to get himself a spiritual name, right? He wanted to be spiritual. So he was blessed with the name by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He was given the name Muhammad Ali, right? And so, Malcolm used to say, your name was as good as gold. And when I asked my father what Milton Pryor Bowser, the fourth, because that's where I was born, Milton Pryor Bowser the fourth. That was my name. They called me Mickey. So anybody got some jokes out there, I'm giving you another joke. I was your brother Milton, but my father told me Milton was from the Milltown. That's not me. Pryor, first. So I was the first person from the Milltown, and Bowser, was a kind of an offshoot of a German name. It had something to do with like a woof woof, a dog or something. So I didn't want to be the first dog from the Milltown, coming. I didn't want that, right? So I'm looking for. So I eventually at some point, I did take the name, which was Abdel Salam, the servant to retain the root of peace. I don't know if I'm that. I don't know if I am peaceful all the time, but I felt it was something at least I could strive to be, all right? So here we are in Harlem, coming up and being empowered by Black people, Black power, Black stories, the stories of who we are as a people. And then we would go to the Schomburg Library at the time. And if we were fortunate, we had teachers, and I did, I had, just like even though I was transferred downtown to PS6, I would come back home and be empowered by meeting people like Malcolm and meeting other luminaries within the Harlem community. I go to music and art. I'm getting ready to wrap this up because my time is going to run out in a second. Music and art was where? In Harlem on 135th Street. I think it's now, what is it? What school is on 135th Street in Convent Avenue? A. Philip Randolph? Yeah, I think that's what it is, on 135th, right across the street from City College. But back then it was music and art. And I got more musical training and development in music and art. Now, quick anecdote, I didn't know what kind of musician I wanted to be, but I came up in music. When I was studying music in Harlem, on 117th Street, I was studying xylophone, glockenspiel, piano, musical theory. Again, wanted to be a musician, yes? Well, I got transferred downtown, to the school, to the erudite school, to the white schools. And they, and they said, they said, well, you can't carry a glockenspiel and a xylophone around in class to play. What other instrument would you like to play? I said, I don't know. So they stuck me on a viola, and I played viola for 2 years, in 5th and 6th grade. But I didn't want to be a viola player. So I get into junior high school, and I meet Jimmy Hahn, who became my best friend, a little jazz oboe player. And Jimmy starts taking me around to the avant-garde jazz circuit. And we're going at 12 and 13 years old, we're going to see John Coltrane. We're going to see Eric Dolphy. We're going to see Cannonball. We're going to see Ornette Coleman, right? And we're listening to the greatness of this Black avant-garde jazz movement happening. So when I went, by the time I got ready to go to music and art, I'd had 3 years of learning how to play the saxophone, because I decided I was going to try to be a jazz musician. And I got up to being first saxophone. I get into music and art. They tell me music and art was considered a bastard instrument because it wasn't played in a symphonic orchestra. And so what I had to do was to play a classical instrument, even though academically I passed the test and could come into music and art, but I need to play something that the establishment thought was proper. So they said, what else do you play? I said, well, I played viola for 2 years. They said, fine, play viola, you can come into the school. I played viola for 3 years. Got up to maybe orchestra 6 out of 8 orchestras. Not bad, not great. Graduated, from music and art in high school, from high school in Harlem. Kind of messed up a little bit because of my street stuff I was going through. That's that street side of me that we won't get into, right? I won't talk about that because I'll embarrass Charmaine and she'll get angry with me. But towards my senior year, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. Graduated, got my 1A draft card, and took the audition for the Navy band. Used to take a solo because I could still take a solo, right? From saxophone. I didn't forget how to take a solo, but I wasn't reading and studying saxophone anymore. So the guy threw a page of music in front of me. The note, it was black with notes. And then I flunked the audition, right? So I couldn't get into the Navy band. I couldn't get into I couldn't get into any of the bands. So here I am on my way to Vietnam. And my friends are coming back, junkies, maimed, hurt. Some not coming back at all. Some are coming back in body bags. And 3 days before I was inducted, I got my acceptance letter to the Sikh program at Lehman College that used to be Hunter. I was running around the reservoir.
I feel like I should stop you and have them wait.
Okay, so I'm going to tell them, because the next part was how I decided I wanted to become a choreographer. And that
hold on. Let them wait, Abdel.
Right. Marlies is coming in.
Come on in, Marlies. And Abdel, I'm going to tell y'all who is here. I'm just saying. It's a lot of folks up in here. Come on in, Marlies. So, Bam is here. So, where are you, Marlies? Come on in, Marlies. Cheers.
I'm doing it.
Hi, Marlies. Cheers. Hi, baby. I love you.
Cheers. Yeah.
Don't go anywhere, Abdel. Listen, y'all. Listen who's here. So a lot of Bam is here, Abdel. Coco is here.
Hi, Coco.
Coco is here. Stacy Dinner is here.
Hi, Stacy.
Stony is here. Amy is here. Joe Melillo is here.
No.
Laura Greer is here. Laura is here. Sule Adams is here. Cynthia Oliver is here. Peggy Choi. Renee and Ariana, those are from our BDS team. Yotande is here. Diane, your wife, is here. Wendy Perrin is here. Elizabeth Zimmer. Oh, Sandy Sawatka is here too. I forgot. Carol Webster.
Oh my goodness.
And Hank Smith is here.
Oh, Hank.
And Diane McIntyre is here too.
Hi, Diane.
And I'm gonna say this wrong, but Quincilla Swinnigan.
Swinnigan, yes.
There are a lot of people's here for y'all.
Waza.
Well, I'm gonna leave you two to have a little bit of.
I want you to finish that story talking about.
No. All right, I'm gonna leave you. See you in a minute.
All right.
Have fun.
I'll cap it with a
Yeah.
I'll cap it with a sentence, and I'm gonna bounce past the ball back to you, darling.
All right now.
Okay. So I get into Lehman College. I don't know exactly what it is that I'm going to do. Um, the movement is still taking place. It's abound with the birth of Black studies, programs, and and the civil rights movement and the Black Power movement is starting to shift the construct of academia. Um, and I'm in gym class and I'm running around the reservoir. The reservoir that went all around the Bronx, right? And a red truck pulls up and a woman jumps out, rolls a window down. She didn't jump out. That was the third time. She rolls a window down and she looks out and she says, "Hey, what's your name?" And so I said, "Mickey." And so she said, "How would you like to join a dance program?" And I said, right,
Oh.
right. Right.
Oh,
That was my
yes.
nickname. That was a nickname, remember? Because I hadn't officially become, Abdel Salam yet, right? I was still Milton
Right,
Bowser
right.
before, right? And so then she says, she says, she said, "How would you like to become a?" And I said, "No," and I kept on running. 2 weeks later, the same red truck pulls up. The same woman comes in. She rolls down the window. She said, "Hey, you remember me? My name is Joan Miller. I would like you to become a member of the dance program." And I looked and I said, "I told you no, like last week, but thank you." And I kept on running. Two more times later, right? For whatever period of time, by the fourth time, she came out the car and she said, "Look, I want you to become a member of this program. Please consider it."
Yes.
And I went to the dance club in in the summer of whatever it was, 1669, right before, no, 1970, right before she started the dance program. And I did a summer arts thing there with her. Was on stage. Raul Lamb was dancing. Remember Raul Lamb? Raul Lamb was dancing. Raul Lamb came up to me and said to me, "You ain't got much technique, but you got a spirit and a presence there. You should consider trying to be a dancer." And that fall, Joan established the Lehman College dance program.
Yes.
She brought up Juan Antonio, who was working with Louis Falco, and Jan Martin from Paul Sansardo. Joan was a Limoni, teaching Limoni technique. Blah blah blah. The following, and Chuck came, and
Yeah.
the rest is
And the
history.
rest is history.
The rest is
The
history.
rest is history.
That's the end of that intro.
Were brought in and caught.
Yes, and I fell in love. I fell
Yeah.
in love. Probably like you did, boo.
Yeah, I fell in love, but I fought at first. I fought at first. Yeah. And my mother, well, now I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna go right into it. My mother was a interpretive dancer and singer, jazz singer of her time, and a mom. And so she always was dragging me around to one jazz event to another jazz event. So it was up in my blood. And she believed that we should study dance and music. So piano was its beginning, and dance classes was its next. And it was constant between that and learning vocabulary and learning how to write on the side. She was always pushing, pushing. So one day I just said, I don't wanna, when I got big enough to do that, I don't wanna. She got so tired of me doing that. I don't wanna. She said, "All right." And she pulled it back. And then, like a fever in me, it came up again. And when I went to her, she said, "I gave you all of that. And you said you didn't want it. You wanted to go out and play with your friends. So you got to find your own way." And that's where my story begins. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I love that, and what's so fascinating is that when I listen to you, just like with my parents, we are so connected to the roots of our being, to the people that the people that had those very early influences on us. I mean, I know the scientists and people argue sometimes whether the inheritance of something is either genetic, or environmental, but it's probably both. We probably get some things from our parents' genes, but then it is the surroundings that we come from that determine who we are. And so it's fascinating to me is when I watch you, because we've all watched each other over the years, right?
Yeah.
You just have you've always had just a masterful sense of rhythm and form.
Mm.
You've developed your own language, right, and how you move and interpret. I mean, yes, you studied like every, like we all studied, right?
Yeah.
Um, but just like I learned one time, and I had been choreographing already for about maybe 10 years. I went and saw Jawale at
Yeah.
City College, and she was doing some solo, and the company was doing whatever it was, and I was sitting next to Diane, and for whatever reason I didn't understand the early work, and I'm thinking about this, like, because I know you're going to talk about Rent, you know what I mean, and the other things that you've done, but I was watching it, and all of a sudden I got it, for the Diane McIntyre, the Jawale, the people like yourself, the people like Blondell, and even my dance mother, who came out of a codified dance background, right? When she
Mm-hmm.
worked with Rudy Perez and the postmodern movement, and
Yeah.
Gus, and she was doing that Jawale was in search of her own language.
Mm-hmm.
She was
Yeah.
developing a language. And so when I watch some of the times the things that you do, it took me years, honestly, to get to that point, right? Where I have my own language. But that's what I appreciate about you. And that's what I appreciate about the genre that you come out of,
Yeah.
is that you have always been in search of your own language, right? Your own way to move.
Yes.
And you got that from your mama doing her, her little bumping,
Doing her own thing.
her own thing.
More
Right,
than you know, my brother,
right.
more than you know. And I too, man, I love how the stage, you fill those bodies with the stage, and they're all specifically telling a bigger story.
Yeah.
And that, I love the beauty of how it is, in a sense, and I don't mean this in a negative way at all, because I know our communities of dance, oftentimes we go back and forth on what musical theater is, but in a sense, it is that kind of where it's telling the story, and it's Africanism along with the power of the technique. And it's just beautiful. I always am like in awe watching how the stage fills. So I know you've touched many lives, you and Diane.
Yeah, I received that, darling, and thank you. And so let me veggie back off of you and just say that probably like you, and I'm interested. I know you're going to talk about this a little bit, and when you talk about your, not only your lineage, but but how you came to be who you are. I want to say that there is a struggle that lives inside me still to this day, whether it is at BAM or within forces of nature. It is still that struggle, and I talk about my friends all the time about the need to tell a story which is clear to our people, right? And then, but also the construct that comes with modern dance, right? Modern art, which is the balance between abstraction and creating something that the audience can create their own interpretation about what they're saying, and at the same time saying some shit that people really get, that they say, I came out of this and I know what you were trying to say to me. And one of the things that's great about Rent, because it is musical theater, right, is that when I see your work, you're telling a story that people get, right? They get the story. Sometimes what happens in the concert world is because we're in love with the form, and the theme of the form, and sometimes, but not necessarily maybe committed to a story or narrative about what it is. That there's that balance between, well, what is too much and what is too liberal, what is doing something which dumbs down your audience, and at the same time, what is something which allows your audience to take their own journey, right? To create for themselves.
Well, we have to remember that our concert world is the inspiration and the foundation by which this new wave was built off of.
Right.
So that balance really is the truth of us continuing to listen to how it comes up inside of us.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know about you, but when the language is coming down, sometimes it's coming down like a download from another place.
That's right.
I'm seeing the images. I'm seeing how some of the stuff I don't even know how I can realize what I'm visually seeing. And sometimes that visual download is keeping me up at night. It is a labor. So to not honor that impulse, that gut, I think doesn't serve us. So I think we have to walk towards that. And yes, we got to find a balance, but to give too much to the balance means we're negating our root. and we can't negate our root.
See now I like that. And let me just say this. So
Yeah.
for all the people that sometimes all of my dancers who are in love with dance for the purity of dance and dance sake, let me just say this. What the sister just said, is it the ancestral inspiration, right? That comes from divine consciousness. And in our people, they're coming out of the construct, and the consciousness of our African root. We are people who pull, right, the stories of nature, the stories of celestial being, of terrestrial being, of earth and wind and sun and moon and star,
yeah.
and animals in the zoomorphic kingdom and the anthropomorphic kingdom. And
That's
we take
right.
all of that and we tell those stories because we are lifting ourselves up. So thank you, sister, because I'm gonna keep on telling my story.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So me and you,
Marlies said it keeps her up at night. The
we like
download.
this.
Oh yeah, the download. It's a thing. It's
I
a
love it. I love
you
it.
know, those are those dark ring circles when you're up in the middle of the production.
Come on.
You got the
It's
you're
calling. Sometimes
in-
I'm in a circle. I can't stop walking in a circle in the middle of the studio room. The dancers got so that they just knew. They went and had their break, ate, taught, and I just keep walking around in the circle. I can't stop walking around the circle. The information's coming too fast. I can't catch it. I gotta wait till I can catch it.
Well, let me say that sometimes you did catch it. Now I want to give you some dap. You did catch it.
I caught it.
You
Yeah.
caught it.
All right, listen. There's still some more people here before you go, Abdel.
Okay.
I want to say Lori Uprichard is here. Laura
Lori.
Marchese is here. Stephanie Tuman is here. And some people from the reading series are here.
Right.
Yeah.
And wait a minute, y'all. Y'all dropped some names, and I'm trying to keep track, but Ruth Williams,
Yes.
Wow.
Joan Miller,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yahweh Willa Joe Zolar.
Yes.
All right,
Baba Chuck?
Abdel,
Diane,
see you in a minute.
Okay, I'm gonna go drink some
go drink some more
cucumber and some mint.
I'm gonna drink agua in a
Agua. Marlies, cheers, sis.
lovely. Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you for having me, Mama.
Oh my gosh. I'm thanking you. Introduce yourself and
Oh my God. Here we go. What am I? I am Mariss Yearby, raised traveling, born in Munich, Germany. My father, Lieutenant Colonel, was in the service. I am a non-disabled Black woman with roots in Native, in Haitian, yes, and white. I reside usually on the stolen land of the Lenape people. Today I am traveling. I am with my father, holding him and enjoying him and laughing with him in this moment in time, with again on the stolen lands of the Caddo and the Choctaw people here in Louisiana. Now, story has it, a lot of story on this other part of the history. Now, my father, Joe Sampson Yearby, married my mother, Anna Louise Cross, and she became a Yearby. And my grandfather's name on my father's side is Joe Sampson Yearby, and my grandmother's name was Niecy Johnson, and she became a Yearby. And then my great-grandfather's name was Ananias Yearby, named, yes, after Ananias in the Bible. And he married Susie Sampson Yearby. And that would be my great-grandparents. And my great-great-grandparents on my father's side was George Yearby and Maggie Yearby. And Maggie was Choctaw. Now, Maggie also, well, we're not going to talk about that. Let's just say there was an unwanted disruption that made Ananias, the word Ananias, come into our life. Okay, so here we go. Now, on my mother's side, a lot more complicated. My mother, she was a secret woman, and yet so public. I discovering more and more about her as I'm here with my dad and realize I didn't have any of my stuff in preparation for Black Dance Stories. And so I'm digging, I'm like, how can I bring home to me? And so I said, let me just look at my mother's album. And so I'm gonna share that with you in about a second. But my mother's mother was Louise Barra, and she married my grandfather, who's Edward Cross. And my grandfather, Edward Cross, his father was Haitian, and I don't know his name. He had relatives and family, and his sisters were in Belize. So, and then it just gets quiet. There's a lot of quiet on that side. That's all I got to say. A lot of quiet. Now, my mother and all of that side of the family, in terms of my immediate uncles and stuff, they're no longer living. So it will remain quiet. And we're trying to dig it up as cousins because, we're trying to find some Mariss Yearbys, and we found some Duparts, and I'm confused. I don't know the whole story, so I'm not even going to try to go there. But in the process, like I said, my mother, she was a interpretive dancer, jazz singer. She also made her own costumes. I'm going to show y'all some stuff here. But in the process, I came across this article, and I got to read this article because I never read this article. I never saw the article. I always just looked at the pictures, So I'm going to read this article now here. Anna Cross, who is known as Miss Silvertone, perfect shape of 1952, who just returned to the Bay Area after a successful coast-to-coast tour where she appeared in the leading nightclubs, theaters, hotels, and radio and television with her sensational dance known as the, wait for it, Silvertone. Now, okay, wait a minute now. The reason why that hit me so, because I knew my mother had a nickname, Silvertone. And I always thought, and I'm going to go back to this article, but I always thought that it was because of this picture with the hat. I thought it was her hair, not some wild dance she did. Okay, but wait a minute. So now I'm reading further in this article. I literally just found this article today, y'all. So this is very, very exciting to me. All right. So then it goes on to say, all right, wait a minute. The dance known as the Silvertone, which is rocking the nation. So now, this is a real article, y'all. I didn't make this up. It's an article. It's my mom there dancing. Okay, well, wait a minute now. Does anybody know the dance Silvertone? I just want to know. Does anybody know the dance Silvertone? Okay, so wait a minute now. All right. Now, which is rocking the nation. She will be seen very shortly on the national television hookup. I love that writing. She has just been signed to make some pictures for a magazine cover that will soon be seen on the news stands. This girl has got it and is headed for big time. The coming year of 1953 will be a year for Anna Cross of Oakland, California, of all years, another star that has made good. And then there was a forward from Stevenson, says, beautiful model and dancer Anna Cross in her gorgeous white bathing suit, who greeted ex-heavyweight champion Joe Louis. What? So wait a minute now. I started looking closer at the picture. I don't know, can y'all see that? There's my mother standing next to Joe Louis. What? We really should pay more attention to our photo albums. I mean, it was just sitting here. I just always looked at the pictures. I just never read. So anyways, it goes on and on and on and on. But the other thing that's here is that, wait a minute. Joe Louis, still rated as a champion to thousands of people on his arrival at the San Francisco airport for the civil rights rally. Now, this ignited some memories because my mother used to talk about sitting in restaurants. She always did sit-ins. And yeah. Now, this is just a sidebar, but what was holding the page is Black choreographers moving through the 21st century. And that's just a sidebar because that is where I met Nia Love and saw Donald Byrd for the first time. I'm just saying. This was in her photo album. What? What? So, whoo! So my mother used to drag me to jazz clubs to hear live jazz music all the time. And it was in my blood. I didn't realize how much it was in my blood until much, much later. But we went all the time to hear jazz music. And some of the time I was blessed to hear her sing and see her tap. I already know y'all. Boy, here we go. See her tap dance. My mother always loved the arts. She felt it was important because she was an artist. She really, really and truthfully was an artist. And I remember asking my dad at one point, I said, Dad, why did, I said it wrong. I said, Dad, why did you tell Mom to stop dancing? Accusation, wrong information. My dad said, I never told your mother to stop dancing. She stopped dancing on her own. And that was deep for me because my mother's heart was on that stage. And I know that when she went to go meet my father in Germany, she went into labor, and that's how I wound up being born. And actually my name, she was in the hospital. She was not expecting to have me in that moment and was not quite prepared. And so she pulled out, it was a German name book, and that's how I got the name Marlies. Ha! What? Yes, I feel like I'm talking to myself. I'm gonna show you. So, oh no, I did that wrong. Yep, I got it. Okay. Don't touch anything. I know it's just the choreographer, the director in me. I just want to stop. Okay. So that's how I got the name Marlies, which is actually in Germany was as common as Anne. Yeah. So now my mother, while she was out there, she would still moonlight and try to do things, you know, and I saw a payment of 50 Deutsche Marks, it's in this book, where she got paid to do this film. And I remember my mother telling me she did this little, you know, what is it called when you stand up and get on and get back off, walk on. And her thing was to just sit in a restaurant and hold a cigarette and smoke with her legs crossed. And they featured her. What? Sitting, you could just see it. I could see it. I could see it. My mother. So my mother just always believed that we needed to be surrounded by the arts. And I love her for that. And I fought her for that when I was younger. And when she said, go find your way, I found the why. That was the first place I found, the Y, the YWCA. They had classes there. And my mother then supported me to go there. So I went there and I took some African, took a little bit of modern at that time. And that was pretty much it. And then my sister, who loved to dance, as we got a little older, we were teenagers, we got involved in disco dancing. Now, disco dancing, as you know, is done in the club. Now, keep in mind, I'm under 17, but my sister, she's a little older. So now I was sneaking in the club using her ID, and we were disco dancing in that club. We were competing, doing disco dancing in the club. I would spend 5 hours on my extra time, not in school. We would just be making up these dances and making up these dances and making up these dances. And that really began my sense of choreography and working with a woman named Patrice DeArmond, my friend. She is a singer now. And we used to dance in her room to James Brown. James Brown was in my blood along with that jazz music. And we would dance for hours in the room making up dances. So my first opportunity to audition for something was when I was in high school. And in high school, I auditioned for this play. And the way I did the audition was I choreographed something to Black Butterfly, whatever that song was. Da 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 da. Yeah, I choreographed to that and I auditioned because that was all I knew how to do was dance, right? And so I auditioned with that. And they actually incorporated, I don't even know the name of the production, they incorporated that music and my choreography into that theatrical production. And so there was a ding in the back of my head about, the way I'd like to create. But when I went to college, I was thinking to myself about my mother not following through, or not following through, but letting go dance. And I wanted to please my parents. And I thought, I'm going to do what they keep saying to me, which is make sure you have something solid. So I went into college at San Jose State University in the biological science department because I thought I was going to do something with physical therapy. And that first semester I was up in there. So the second semester I said, oh, I'm going to take a dance class just to have some release. Next thing I know, a year later, I had all dance classes. And they had to come tap me on the shoulder and say, maybe you want to change your major. And so I changed it to dance theater, and there it went. But that wasn't the end of that. I was up in there doing, and this was in, now I'm in San Jose, California. I am in the dance department and being typical to my form, not liking some things, liking other things, and basically taking the courses. I'm terrible. Students, if there's students on this, hang up. Do not watch anymore. I'm assuming I'm talking to the adults that already done the damn thing. Whoops. Whoa, I said it. I do have a cursing mouth too. People do know that. But anyways, so I started taking all the choreography classes. I took the choreography classes, I took the production classes, and I was very interested in live dance for music. And that was my primary focus, and all of the technique classes. They could not keep me every semester. I would take the courses and drop the courses and stay focused on the choreography courses, the production courses, and the technique courses, and the music in relationship to dance courses. And if anyone knows my work, I love live music, and I've always loved live music, and I've always made a sacrifice to work with live music, even when there was nothing available to make that happen. So I'm out there doing that thing. They got so that they let me take all the graduate study choreography courses to maintain my interest. I started choreographing on the faculty concerts. And then I found an incredible woman that you all don't know out here named Bobby Wynn. Bobby Wynn, who is now Bobby Bolden, had a company called Bobby Wynn and Dance Company. It was definitely in its undertone, it definitely had A-Lee technique in it, but she was definitely dreaming her own world. Again, she was working with live music. And so that live music was always a part of the underbelly of everything that I touched. And so I got to choreograph on her company. Matter of fact, I choreographed on her company, and then I opened a dance studio with her and ran a dance studio. Oh yes, in San Jose, California. While I was bouncing back and forth to everybody's dance studio over there with Halifu and Deborah and Linda, Deborah Floyd, Linda Goodrich, Halifu Asmari. And then I was bouncing over to San Francisco to Footworks and someplace else that I can't think of right now, taking classes there. I was bouncing. And then I got involved in choreographing for community theater, Lamar Boyd III. And I started doing community theater while being in school, Wow, bouncing back and forth between San Francisco and Oakland, while staying with Bobby and choreographing on the company and performing with the company in San Jose. And one day I got knocked on the shoulder again, and they said, "Are you sure you really want to be in school? Because you're basically doing everything that you went to school for. You're going to school for. You're teaching, you're running a dance studio, you're dancing for a dance company, and you're choreographing. So are you sure you really want to be here?" Now, to this day, I will not say who the director was at that point in time because she begged me not to tell this story. She said, "Marlies, do not tell this story." But in actuality, I love her for it. So I'm going to say her name, Mina Garman, gave me permission to figure out my own way. And that was huge. And so what I did was that next year, I decided I was going to take a year off of school and try to see if I could survive as an artist. And that shit was hard. Oh, I said, ooh, it was hard. But I did it. I mean, I had this little car that I had bought for $150 back whenever. The car had no window on the driver's side, no front grill, right? I was living in the projects at that point in time because that's the only place I could survive and live as an artist, because my parents could not afford to pay for me to go through college. And I fit in that little hole where the parents make a little more than they're supposed to, but not enough to help you, right? So I was in that hole. And I drove back and forth in that little car with no front bumper and the window, and it was winter, and I drove through all them seasons, and I made it work. I did everything I could. I said no to nothing. And I did everything I could. And at the end, all I knew was, whew, that was hard, but I was happy. I was really, really happy. And then I decided I needed to do the next thing. Simultaneously, Bobby decided she needed to do the next thing and asked me, would I co-direct and the company while she left the company. It would be me. And oh my God, her name just went out of my head. I should have wrote it down. But she's beautiful, beautiful choreographer at that time. And I said, Bobby, I think I want to go to New York. She said, Marlies, if you go into New York, the place for you is Diane McIntyre. You need to go look up Diane McIntyre because she's working with live music. Her body tells the stories like your body tells the stories. You're up inside of these gestures. I think this is the place for you to go. You need to go the live music. That's where you need to go if you're going to do it. I said, okay, universe, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to call up Diane McIntyre. And if I go there and if she allows me to audition and I find a dance home, I'm going to New York. But Bobby, if that doesn't happen, I'm coming back here. And yes, I will be the co-artistic director of your company. I will keep the legacy going. She said, that's fair enough. You go. And I called her and Diane, got her on the phone. Diane said, I'm not auditioning now, but I will see you. I went on that plane. I stayed in the living room of the dance theater of Harlem crew. I was there with Dean Anderson, Carl Gisant, Tyrone. Oh, can't think of Tyrone's last name. They all had this apartment on 160th Street, and I slept on their couch. And I went to go audition for Diane, and it was me and her in a room. And I had begun this project that I had started creating before I left California called The Sometimes Crazies. And it was about, that piece was really about having to do all the things that we did extra as an artist to support our artistry. Yeah. So I did this work, and Diane, 2 hours. This work was less than 2 minutes long. And for 2 hours, I basically had a mentorship. It was more than an audition because she basically worked with me and worked with me and worked with me on the Sometimes Crazy, which meant I had to dance it over and over and over and over. Say, girlfriend, I lost at least 10 pounds in that one session because Diane worked me so hard. When I think about it now, I can still feel my muscles ache. And she was like, you know, you got something, but I don't have a space for you right now in my company. But I do have this internship that you can do, which would allow you to take classes at the studio. You could teach at the studio, and you can choreograph on one of the dancers. And it was for a stipend, and I mean like a stipend, like a travel stipend. You know, she said, I can give you a travel stipend. But I had made a promise. I said, if I found a dance home, I would stay. So I did not let it deter me that I didn't know how I was going to survive. I had a dance home. So I leaped, and Bobby sent me love. And, you know, funny enough, well, we won't go to that story. We will let that one go for another time. But anyways, so I jumped on in, and I was up there in Harlem, and I remember Lacine Owsley Wedderborn. She's Wedderborn now, but she was just Lacine Owsley back then. And I started choreographing on Lacine at Sounds and Motions Dance Studio, the Sometimes Crazies, which was going to be presented at the showcase there. I taught a couple of classes. I stayed in class with Diane as much as I could. And I loved the lingo between the live music and her constantly, with Olu there and Hank was there on those keys. I mean, it was rich. It was a rich moment. And I'm gonna tell you a quick side story, because I learned something about guiding the room. And I said this on another thing that I did somewheres recently in this COVID madness that we're in. But Diane was explaining to someone how to turn on their knees, how to spin. And she was talking about pulling up. And I made the mistake of opening my big mouth and said to her, the girl that she was coaching, I said, you know, and you can also wear some knee pads. It was very honest in that moment in time. I should have never said that, because Diane said, we danced, and I'll never forget this, on cement floors. We had to learn how to pull up. There was leaking water coming down from the ceiling, and we had to learn how to pull up. You need to pull up, and then you won't need any knee pads. And at that moment, I learned something very valuable. This woman was clear about her process, about what she was going to do, and what she needed the dancer to do. And no one was to interrupt that. That was a very valuable lesson. Between Bobby Wynn teaching me, we used to spend hours and hours talking process, right? And then Diane teaching the command of that space, I had a valuable cushion of information to how I might be in the room. So some people say I'm a taskmaster. I don't really think I'm a taskmaster, but everyone says I'm a taskmaster. But I think that that's incorrect. And I think any of my dancers would tell you I am not a taskmaster. What I do like to do is dig up inside the body, because the information, these images are coming down. They're coming down for a reason. And oftentimes in the course of doing the work, we find that there's history, there's living history that's living in our bodies. And we as dancers are more than embodying the information of the language, the choreography that is being given. We are also living inside of it. And even in its most abstract form, what I find is when the body moves, and especially if the body is moving and singing and breathing together, there is no place for the living body to hide. The experiential body that has legacies behind it.
Marlies.
Yes, am I already there?
Yeah, but I think you just introduced it.
Yes.
Let's ask Caitlin to play what you want us to play, what that you want them to see. Don't you think?
I do want you to see this, but I want you to give you context.
Okay.
This Lori Carlos,
Mm,
okay, is my
that's what I
next
mean
mentor.
about singing, breathing, body.
Yes, yes. Lori Carlos, my mentor, my grounding, who I met when I danced with Urban Bush Women. I did dance with Urban Bush Women. Now, Lori Carlos taught me how to breathe, how to speak, and how to dance all at the same time with being completely present in the moment, and how to hold the emotion and push through, and when to release the emotion,
Mm.
and when to hold it. So this tape you're going to see was done in 2017, 4 days after my husband passed, 2 months after Lori Carlos passed. My dear co-artistic director of Moving Spirits Dance Theater, and a dear mentor and friend. So I want you to see this work, and we're going to talk about it afterwards. It's a terrible tape, but just be with it. The music, the lyric, literally downloaded to me the day after I heard she passed. The lyrics, I was singing them and I didn't understand what I was singing. And then I started listening to myself and I realized I started writing them down. And Cooper Moore did the lyrics for this piece.
We're gonna
Spirit
bring up.
on the Eve of Blue.
We're gonna bring Abdel back when it ends. Thank you, Caitlin.
All I've been doing is
Thank you, Caitlin, tech
Mm.
extraordinaire. Thanks for sharing that, Marlies. Oh my goodness. So
Yeah.
before you talk some more, I just want to let you know that there's still more people coming in.
Wow.
Yasmin Lee,
Yay.
Charmaine Wells, Grace Shanae, Martin Wexler is here, and
Wow.
Halifu is here. Halifu is here.
Oh,
What? Mwah.
Oh my gosh.
hello, Sumare.
Go,
Everybody.
go. Yes, Alifu Sumare. Abdel, you started to say something.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that the beautiful thing when you listen to other choreographers and you know and people in the profession and the craft is that you know you find what it is that you have the essence of what you have, which is in common, and the things that you probably channel, which are different. And so what I appreciate about Marlies, which is something that has happened for me, you know, over and over again, is that Uspensky used to call it to be in search of the miraculous, you know, within,
Mhm.
right? To find out how to be when you're trying to create work, to be within your present moment, you know. Sometimes people oftentimes in the interview, and I'm sure they'll do this to you, Marlies, they'll ask you, well, you know, well, tell me, you know, how and why you choreograph, you know, and what is the formula. And I know that all of us come from the same place. You know, there is no formula. You know, there are, you know, sometimes you can approach it through a concept to be inspired by something that someone said, that you've read, that you've seen. But there are other times where the impetus comes from the movement itself, you know, just going into a studio. I know I used to watch Joan write notes down a lot to herself because she was constantly telling stories. And, you know, all of the earlier people I watched, Joan Miller, you know, Baba Chuck, Ronnie Pratt, Fred Benjamin, Keith Lee, Otis Salid, George, you know, those first 6 people were people that I worked with in their companies. But then I would look at Elio's work, you know, and
Elio Pomare.
Elio Pomare, right?
Body work,
You know,
body work. Yes.
and I'd sometimes be, you know, in those processes and watch how they would channel, you know, channel the energy and what it was that they were attempting to create. And sometimes the beauty of it was always in the moment.
Yeah.
You know, it was not something that necessarily came, you know, from an external reference. And oftentimes it could come conceptually, but sometimes it's just a matter of getting in the studio, which is what I got from you. Sometimes for me, the company, I'd be in the studio and the company would be waiting for me to do a combination. I didn't have a combination. I would just start moving, right? Sometimes, and so as you channel that movement, that inner voice, that breath, you know, there is, you know, there are the beginnings of the phrases and that become the words that become phrases, that become paragraphs, that ultimately become, you know, that become an entire, if you will, movement citations that are happening, you know, in the moment, you know, and they are
those moving bodies that have the capacity to capture it. And there's always some, Yasmin Lee, you yelled out in the room. She is one of those dancers, you throw it out and it's like a video in her body. She's capturing it. And so it is an exchange of information that's happening. More than just even the physicalness of the phrase or the information that's coming out, the context behind it, the information behind it, the room becomes quiet because the room is engaged with living it, living that information.
Yeah, it's totally, and I would also say sometimes when somebody would ask me, I watched it a lot by watching my dance father, you know, Baba Chuck, but also sometimes watching just the other works of people in many parts of the dance world. But something that I got from the African diaspora, you know, was that while there is line, right, the construct that you're describing is something that moves beyond a linear form, a linear interpretation. It is elliptical.
Yes.
It's oscillatory. You know, one of the things I see a lot of times that happens, you know, in a lot of work, you know, within the African genre, is that you can finish a line with a certain kind of tension, but sometimes something spring force and it snaps back, you know?
Yes,
And
yes.
it's moving, you know, around, you know, in this elliptical circular environment. And I saw some of that,
Circular, yes.
you know what I'm saying? You know, and
Yeah.
so, and even beyond it,
No
you know,
beginning, no end.
right. And so for me and my own desire to find something, you know, that would empower a person when they see it, of course, is the story. But in the actual movement, you know, in the actual movement itself, it's how the movement emanates from within, shoots out, and sometimes it either through the audience or its own impetus, it snaps back and it comes back to you, right? And so I say elliptical for myself rather than circular, because if something's in the circular, it keeps on coming back to the same point, right? But when it's elliptical, when movement is elliptical, it's moving forward, it goes further.
I don't know about that circle coming back to the same point. That circle has many points.
Right, and it keeps on, and so that's why, you know.
Get it, Marlies. Go ahead, Marlies. Get him.
Saying the circle has many points of entry and departure.
So let me just say this.
Yeah,
this is good.
Yeah.
So that and maybe in finding the relationship between, you know, our thinking and what we say. The reason I say elliptical and oscillatory is that an ellipse is something that feels circular, but it never intersects at the exact same point in time.
Yes.
You know, it comes back and it hits at some other point in that circle, and it pushes itself and it moves itself forward. So that a lot of times when I'm watching, you know, and feeling the energy of the movement, you know, a circle is something that happens a lot, particularly within the African diaspora. But a lot of times what it also does is it moves like the planet itself.
Yeah.
It moves in this place where, you know, when it is elliptical, it pulls from what was and takes something to what was, and it pushes it a little further. And it causes, you know, this exploration, if you will, that's happening again in the moment. Now, do all of us are we able to achieve that? You know, when we're trying to choreograph? Maybe, maybe not, because all experiments are not necessarily successful, right?
But that sensation of needing to complete, needing to hit the deadline, needing to make it happen in a certain container. Right. And so as long as you have that container, at one point, you stop the flow. Although I love, Bobby Wynn used to say, and the night of the performance, we are still creating the work.
That's right. It happens, again, it happens in that moment. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, guess who's gonna be the stopping of the flow?
Oh. Y'all gotta have an ending.
Hate this part.
Otherwise, we get to the next Black Dance story.
Right. And of course, there are questions in the chat.
Okay.
But Diane said she's going on to go catch Tulani Davis's book release. You know, all of this is crazy.
All right, bye, Diane.
But we move from this to that to this to that to this, and we don't leave our houses.
No.
So
it's something else.
Something else. But
you're stopping it to do what, darling? Oh, so this is it. We done.
We didn't even get to the questions.
We get one question. Can we get one question? One quick answer to a question.
Okay.
Which one?
You pick, Charmaine.
Oh gosh, there are many. I'd have to go searching, but I wasn't prepared to ask one. But how about, is there anything that we missed, y'all? Is there anything that you wanted to share that we missed after listening to each other, after being here?
There is, but Marlies, you go, because I think I made the last point. You go, and then I'll veggie back off of you.
You know, in talking about, just to piggyback to that, to the moment that we shared, the video I shared. When I walked into that room, I had no preparation because life had taken hold. And oftentimes I walk into the room like Abdel is talking about, and you don't have the phrase, you just start moving. For me, sometimes I just walk in the room and I'm listening to the energy of the bodies in the room to find what the next moment is. I'm just listening to them. I start watching them from the time they walk into the door. Yeah. Every little word that they've said, the way they're sitting. Matter of fact, it was the way, moving to Rent, it was the way Wilson Heredia used to jump up and sit down on the table cross-legged from the floor that led me to believe he could jump up on that table in 4-inch heels. It was, so I'm always watching. And that day, the download came. And sometimes it's not about questioning what's there. It was just like, we're gonna do this. And I trusted the bodies in the room in this moment. I gathered Nia Love and Marjani and Yasmin and, oh, I can't even go there. But I gathered those sisters together and Jamal. I think he was our only brother. And
Jamal, who is here? Jamal
yeah,
Barnes?
oh, yeah. And in that moment, we lived the music composed by Cooper Moore to lyrics that I believe came from Lori. And we lived in that moment. And we put that thing together that night, the night before we were to perform it.
Ashe. Ashe. All right, Abdel. So you got 1 second.
1 second.
Yes.
Organic.
Yes.
Right. Organic. I think that the art that we are all searching for is something that wherever it emanates in that center, it's constantly becoming. And I know that within this ancestral voice, I think that speaks to all of us. We are pulling and channeling from our ancestors. We are pulling and channeling from the environment that we are currently in. And we are constantly searching for that which is new. And we may not always find it. If I think about the lesson I'm trying to, for example, expose my audience to within Dance Africa, you know, it is that tradition is the root. But the root is something which ultimately gives birth to something which will become also new, right? And so tradition is not something that is dropped on you like a Cecil B. DeMille movie in the 10 Commandments, right?
Even though that's your name.
You know, right, that's right. It is something, it is something that at some point, you know, whether we want to say it's divine or ancestral or environmental, you have an inspiration that happens within the moment as you're searching for your language, and you find it, you capture it, you pass that on, somebody duplicates it, and if they continue to pass on that same thing from generation to generation, ultimately that becomes tradition. But if in fact tradition started with something, it is also moving towards something to become something else.
Yes.
So, you know,
yes.
so that
yes.
And culture, and the last thing I'll say is that, so for some people, culture is fixed. But remember, when we go to the doctor's trying to find out what's wrong with you to help you heal and move and regenerate and become someone that's new, right? They take a culture of you, and in
that's
that
right.
living energy, your blood, your history, your environment, the things that are good about a bad. And then when they take a look at that, that enables them to find what needs to be worked on, so that it can be reborn and become something new. I think that that's what happens for me a lot within this newness that's taking place within Africa, right? That we get caught up in what it was, and we should respect what it was, honor what it was, and present what it was, but also understand that it is dynamic, it is forward, and it is becoming something which is new, just like we are.
I'm gonna wrap it up there, though. I'm gonna wrap it up there because we could keep going. The root. All right.
A root is on fire. No, it's not.
Who's next week?
First, Abdel's birthday.
Woo!
Please, happy birthday week. We're gonna just happy birthday, Abdel. Happy birthday, my brother. Please drop some birthday wishes in the chat right now. And if somebody can read them out to Abdel, yes, people out there love you, Baba. Baba brother.
And I love you back at you.
Wait, you didn't tell them how old you were.
Oh, 70.
You better rock the 70.
I'm 70 years old, you know.
Boom.
Boom, boom.
Boom, boom. Hey, Nick, you want to read some of those? Do you mind?
Yeah, just waiting for them to come in. Just 1 second.
Oh, right. Forgot. In the meantime,
Oh, we do have questions.
We're
No.
not gonna do, no, we're gonna go on. It's 7:40, Baba, brother.
Well, I didn't do
7:40.
like I'm the one that took us at 7:40. I'm the 7:40. It wasn't me. I didn't do that.
No, you
we
didn't.
both did it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was fabulous tonight. Next week is Danelle Morgan and Jawale Willa Joe Zalar. What?
All right. Woo, woo.
Hey, Nick, you got some?
Yeah, we have Hank Smith who says, thank you all and happy birthday, Abdel.
Thank you.
Khalifa Osmar says, happy birthday, Abdel.
Thank you.
Cynthia Oliver says, becoming something new just like we are. Yes, Abdel, happy birthday. Joseph Vincent Malillo says, happy birthday.
Hi, Joe.
Salam says, boom. Lori of Record says, Yahoo, 70, happy birthday. Cynthia Oliver says, no, 70, black don't crack.
Black don't crack.
Yvonne Claire Thomas says, happy birthday, Abdel. And Stony Darling says, happy birthday.
Yay.
Casey says, happiest.
Oh,
Thank
the love.
But can I thank Charmaine for just being Marlies and I together? Marlies, thank you so much, darling. I was really inspired by you, and I
Me
love
too.
you. And I want
you.
me and you, we got to do some stuff together, sister.
We really should.
Have a way to do this, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Figure out a way to do this. All right.
All right.
Black dance stories in real life. Just saying.
Right?
Just
We
saying.
here.
Yes.
I love you, Baba brother. I love you, Sister Marlies. Thank you all
Thank you, baby.
for
Thank you.
doing this.
Yes. Thank you for being this. Yeah.
All right. Good night, everybody. See you next week. See you next week.
Good night.
Night.
All right.
Be safe and in wellness, everybody.
Yeah. Stay safe in the wilderness.
Yes.
Keep hope alive.